Hello and welcome to Hyperlocal in Huntsville, Alabama. I am so excited today to have Mark Whorton of Whorton Pest Control on Hyperlocal in Huntsville, Alabama. Mark, believe it or not, used to be one of my quiet, sweet little fourth graders when I taught school at New Hope Elementary. And I just have one question starting off here, Mark. What happened? What
Well,
happened? You're not quiet anymore.
well, somewhere between a baseball coach, having a kid young, and opening a business, I just have no time. I just talk to everything and everybody now. So,
Okay, okay. Well, I think it's great. I think that you are embracing being able to, speak up and ask questions. And you actually shared a little story with me about what the pivotal thing about that. Would you just share that with us really quickly before we get into our interview?
yes, I'd love to. Yeah, I had a math teacher that knew I wasn't performing and I wouldn't ask questions. So she went to my baseball coach, and I don't know what all she said to him, but he kind of got a little rough with me. Basically, told me I needed to ask questions and talk. Then 2 weeks, 3 weeks later, the prince or the teacher came back and said, "You need to shut up now. You talk too much." So yeah, it is what it is. Uh,
Yeah.
and most people, probably my wife included, probably thinks I need to be quiet sometimes, but it is what it is.
Well, I'll just have to say, over the years, some of the smartest students I had were the ones that asked incessant questions. And it's not that a quiet student doesn't have questions. It just means they may not be feel like they want to speak up for whatever reason. So you probably had plenty of questions, you just weren't asking them.
Oh, definitely.
And so I definitely saw that like a lot of the students that seemed to learn things better, they weren't afraid to ask the questions. And I think that's another thing. Some people are just afraid. They don't want the spotlight on them. And but they're if they're asking the questions, it's usually genuinely something that they don't know that they want to find out. And that's why they're asking. So I'm glad that Coach Rawls got you involved doing that. And then here's another exciting thing about Coach Rawls. Tell us what has happened now.
Uh,
Will you tell me? Tell us.
yeah, it was a dream from mine, from one of my two kids, to play softball underneath him. He is a three-time state championship or champion in the state of Alabama, and I got the honor to go and sign the paperwork allowing him to be our next high school softball coach. So my daughter's senior year, he will be my daughter's coach.
What a great story. I love that, Mark. That is so awesome. And I'm glad that you're speaking up. I mean, I like that sweet, quiet little fourth grader, because sometimes when you're in elementary school, they do need to listen. I mean, it is important because, you got all these little kids, and if they were all just piping off whenever they wanted to, they would learn nothing. But it's good to ask questions. Not saying don't ask questions, but I'm glad that you learned to ask questions. And I think it served you well because you got a thriving business. And I am so proud of you, Mark, and so excited for you. And so we're going to dive into that and learn a little bit more about Wharton's Pest Control. So why don't you tell us more about your business now and what you do with Wharton's Pest Control?
Uh, we're just a small local pest control company, service in Madison County and a couple little outlying areas. Um, we we started out very small, doing anything to actually gain business. Now we have enough customers that our customers sell for us. But what we were able to do with the business not only is to help people out, but we're able to help schools out. 2 years ago, we did close to 10 grand to our local schools, and we're very small. I mean, it's me and my
Mhm,
dad running this
mhm,
business.
mhm,
My wife does a little bit of Facebook, but mostly it's me.
mhm,
Um, we just we took the what one of my old employers had, which was Mr. Cook at Cook's Pest Control, took his values and I put my spin on it. Of
mhm,
we're still going to do what we said we're going to do. We're going to do it in a timely fashion, and we're going to do good, honest work at a good quality price. And as somebody that's worked for two other pest control companies total, I wasn't seeing that. I was watching what was going on, running 20 to 25 houses a day at the bigger company. And I thought there's a better way to do it. Um, and honestly, it helped us as a family grow too,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we did. We just decided, hey, it's time to go out on our own 7 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and as you know, we're building our dream house. We went from
Yeah.
literally living in a subdivision to building this huge, beautiful house on 5 acres of land.
Yeah.
Um,
That's
so
so
you know, it's
exciting. That is so exciting, Mark. And I'm so thrilled for you. And you definitely seem to be a family guy. You got your family and you've even got grandchildren. Like you are one of my former students and you're a grandfather. That's just not right.
yeah, and I haven't even hit 50 yet. It's like, yeah,
Well, I've got grandchildren, but hey, that's maybe to be expected. But I think it's awesome though. I love how you love your family so much. And I know when I've talked to you like about your grandchildren, if your grandchildren are going to be in your presence, you're going to in your area, you are going to be with them
yep,
because that you just love them so much, and that's so wonderful. Also, I know that you are kind of the meme king on Facebook. You have all kinds of memes. Um, how did that kind of come about?
well, there was a time I knew nothing about Facebook. You can go back and look in 2010, all this stuff, and it was like Mark is going fishing today, or we're going to the drag strip, or watching Danielle play softball.
Right.
To I started a business and I knew nothing about Facebook. I laid in the floor of my house and cried because I literally was not growing a business.
Mm,
So I was watching Facebook and I saw a fellow owner do a Facebook page, just a little ad, and it was a
mhm.
funny meme. And I was like, I can do that too. So I
Yeah.
text them, said I stole his meme and put it on my Facebook, and I got like 5 people like it. And I'm like, I'm rich. I've made to now where we've had some go over 400,000 views. Um,
Oh my
I
goodness.
just, yeah, I was just a guy that didn't know anything about Facebook and started. And that's how I'd have people text me, hey, put your face and your wife's face on this and it'll be gold. And the next thing I know, she's slapping me. Um,
I was
but
wondering, how does Brandy feel about that?
she sends me most of these memes and she's like, hey, bro, put that on there. And I'm like, yeah. So
Okay.
you know,
So she's on board.
oh yeah, she is definitely on board. Now some of them and most of them I go in and I'm like, babe, what do you think? And she's like, no, you are
Okay.
not posting that. So
Okay. Well, that's good. And I'm
yeah,
glad you listened to her.
yeah, sometimes.
Sometimes.
Yeah. Then I ask
Oh,
questions like, what do you mean? She goes, no, that would hurt you. I'm like, okay.
oh. Well, I need to meet her someday. But so how would you describe your approach to serving your clients and your customers, and what sets you apart in terms of your client products and services?
Well, as a small business, you know, I worked for a big company for 10 and a half years. I
Hmm.
did get to know my customers because I didn't treat it as if it was the big C owning it. I treated them as they were my customers.
Hmm.
And that's how we do is now it's like I have a lot of people say my age, somewhere between 40 and 50 years old. Well, then their parents need pest control because
Hmm.
their parents are, you know, 60, 65, 70 years old
Hmm.
and they still have plenty of life left in them
Hmm.
and they need
Hmm.
pest control. So
Yeah.
I treat them like I would want my parents treated.
Hmm.
And same thing when I get younger kids. There's kids that I end up doing their houses, and they sit back and they're like, "Hey, I got a question," and I'm like, "What?" They're like, "I'm looking at buying a car," and I'm like, "Okay." So therefore, I become a daddy,
Yeah.
and I'm like,
Hmm.
"Well, you can't afford $1,000 a month Hellcat payment, but."
Right,
Yeah.
right. Well, and it
So,
seems like as a role, your role as a father, as a husband, as a son, I mean, you view your customers and clients like you would your own family. And
yep.
you're very connected with your family, and then you treat others like their family. I'm the same way. I mean, I think of, people in their circumstances, people that I know may be in similar circumstances. I think about my daughter and son and son-in-law, and I think, well, I mean, when I'm working with a young couple, I definitely think of them like I would my own family.
Yep.
And so I get that, and I think that that's great. And it's definitely helps you to relate well with your clients and customers. How do you stay relevant with what you're doing in the pest control industry, like as
Well,
far as your knowledge?
you're always constantly growing, always reading on the
Hmm.
next products.
Hmm.
Um, and it's also in marketing too. You always got to find out that next hot thing, and especially
Hmm.
with doing memes, that's what I do. Is I see what the next hot thing is, and I jump
Hmm.
on it, and I make a meme and get it out there.
Yeah.
But as far as the pest control side, the actually going to the work, it's always you're learning what is the best product for the best
Hmm.
bang for the buck.
Hmm.
And just stuff like that. That is just
Yeah.
that I think gets lost with a lot of people. They're more worried about making the money, and then they
Mm-hmm.
fall behind because they're not making money because they're not keeping it up at the time.
Hmm.
And it's just education is key.
Oh, yeah.
I feel if you don't learn something new every day, you haven't had a good day.
Yeah, I think that is so true. You learned how to learn when you were in school. Coach Rawls helped you to learn how
Yep.
to learn. And that's one of the biggest things you can learn in school is how to learn because things are
Yep.
evolving and changing so rapidly that I don't care what kind of skills you possess, those skills may become outdated over
Yep.
time. And then you've got to learn a new way to do things. So just continually be learning. And it sounds like that's what you're doing with your business. And you know how to do that. So that's critically important. And I agree in my business too that I've done the same thing. Like I want to provide the best possible service for my clients and customers. And so if I'm doing something a certain way, but I see a better way to do it, then I go to that, so that I can provide them with the best service. Um, that's great, Mark. And so as I wrap up my interviews, I usually like to ask if there's one thing that you'd like our audience to take away from this interview about you and your business, what would it be?
Probably know that when you come to hire somebody like me, you're going to get me.
Hmm.
You're going to know my family. I
Hmm.
want to know your family. I
Hmm.
mean, you're going to know, hey, on Tuesdays and Thursdays, more than likely, I'm going to be at the ball field.
Yeah.
I have a daughter that plays, so I'm there
Hmm.
cooking hamburgers and hot dogs.
Hmm.
I'm going to have the best products I can find and available to use at your
Hmm.
house. Yeah, and plus, I've done everything from moving furniture to cutting trees down. And my wife got mad at me cutting a tree down, but it was it's what people do, is what I tell her. And she's just like, but your insurance. I'm like, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So yeah, that's why I married smart. She is
Yeah.
very smart. And
Yeah. I get that from you. Some of the things you've said that she seems to be a smart lady, and that's so good. What I love about your story, Mark, is you have a true entrepreneurial story. And that's something that is, it just shows how you made things work. Like you were to the point of tears about some things, and yet you didn't let that defeat you. You figured out how to make it work, and that's like part of the American dream, and then you went from, kind of meager income to now building your dream home on 5 acres, So, I mean, it's just a great story. And I love to hear that from people. And I just hope that our country doesn't get away from us having the ability for
correct.
people to do that. I hope that we're always able to allow people to pursue their dreams and to make it happen. And so Thanks for sharing that with us today, Mark, taking time
Sure.
out of your busy schedule of serving your clients and customers, and also reconnecting with a former fourth grader. Even though my fourth graders grow up, I still see them in their, if I look closely at your face, I still see those little eyes and see what you looked like back then. So
Yeah,
anyway, well, tell Brandy thank you for sharing you with me for a little bit
I will.
today, and maybe I'll meet her someday. Maybe I'll meet your daughter someday. Yeah, I had daughters who played softball too, especially my oldest one. She was really big into softball. So we get that. We get the sacrifices softball families make in the summertime, but it's a lot of fun. Anyway, well, enjoy your softball season because I know it's ramping up. And
Yep.
thanks again. Look forward to talking with you again sometime soon, Mark.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, bye bye.